Good afternoon, parents and teachers. Thank you to Principal Smith of Corabon High School for having me here. My name is Jeff Coy. I am a representative from PepsiCo. I'm their Training and Education Coordinator, and I'm here to talk to you today about 21st century skills in today's classroom and today's workplace. So thank you for being here. First off, let me tell you that I am completely and wholly understanding of you when you say you fear change. Change is a big word. Change means difference. Change means breaking away from the norm. I get it. There's a lot of concerns about change and what it will bring. Why change it when it's not broken? If you learned from it and you're fine, why change what your kids are learning and the way that they're learning? And I'm here to tell you today that change, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's new and different, but yes, it's necessary. And I think you're going to see why after I finish with my presentation here. So let's go ahead and get started. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them to me after we are done. All right, so we're all in agreement, teachers and educators and managers and bosses. We're all about developing people. We're there to develop our students as teachers and educators and principals, and as employers, we are there to develop our employees to make them better, more efficient, better people. And but in order to do that, we need skills. What skills are needed for this? We need learning and education skills. They need to be able to learn and be educated. They need the skills and information, how to get that information, where to get it from, media. They need to learn, they need to learn the basics of how to read, how to write, how to communicate, all that stuff. And then we also have the life and career skills, how to live your life and how to be in life. Those three skills are huge and important for proper development. So let's look at some of the ways that you and I, as parents, were taught in school back in the olden days, back in the archaic days, if I will. So let's look at the first thing, learning and innovation. How were we taught? As students, we were supposed to listen and follow direction. The teacher said what was supposed to be done. We took notes and we followed that direction, and that was basically the extent of our thinking. You did what the teacher said. The teaching was fact-based, usually off of a textbook or maybe a film or something like that, but we were supposed to take notes and learn from that. And it was very linear. We all sat, as you see here, in desks, lined up behind one another, facing the front of the room. There was no... the teacher was at the front, and we were there. The teacher was the authoritative figure, and we were there to learn. The assessments we were given were basically in tests, and we were evaluated by our grades, how we did on the test. And that basically came from memorization. Some of us were better at memorizing than others, facts and the whatnot. We were able to memorize what we needed to know and compute that to a test and get good grades. Did that prove to be a proper education and development? No. And every classroom you went into differed. But it was like you were in one room and that was your classroom. Then you went to the next room, that was your next classroom. And it really differed from place to place. The information that we had, media, technology, back when I was in school, we actually had movies and TV, but before that there was, media resources were limited to books, newspapers, magazines, word of mouth, really. And if we were lucky, at TV or radio. Information was based off opinions, and that was the opinions of the authors. So there was really no diversity. You learned from the textbook you were reading, and that was fact. That was what you knew. Whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, or how it was written in like history books or English books, it was right, wrong, or indifferent. It was basically, that was it. That was what you knew. And you used the same textbook year after year. Updates were not done. They were the same book year after year after year. Whether the information was still relevant didn't matter. We were learning from those books until they decided to update it and bring them in. And then, so that we transfer this over to our life. What we learned in school, we transfer over to life. Education back in the olden days was for industrial labor. You know, there was no computers, there was no internet, there was no Silicon Valley. It was that we were preparing ourselves for labor, for industrial labor, where free thinking wasn't encouraged. What transferred from the classroom over to the workplace is the following of directions. You had to focus and follow on direction. Your boss told you what to do, you did it. That was the way it went. Transfer over to the 21st century. Now look at what we're doing. Look at all the advancements that have been made since the 80s, really. You know, 70s computers came out. Before that, but 70s really computers started coming out. 80s, I remember getting the Apple computer and the Commodore computer back in the 80s. And now look at where we're at in the early 2000s. You know, and the way the classroom has changed. Rather than linear, and rather than based off of textbook facts, teaching should be knowledge-based. What's right? What needs to be learned? Not just facts, but why? Not the what, but the why. That's what needs to be learned. Why we need to know something, and if it's relevant to life, relevant to what's going on in the world, and relevant to how we need to develop the entire world in itself. Teaching should not be linear. It should be vertical. Kids should be free to pair up, go off of each other, learn off of each other. Learn not just from the teacher, learn from each other. You know, teach each other and write down, be able to write down things and make mistakes and learn from your mistakes rather than be assessed on making a mistake, you're wrong, boom, that's it, you fail. No, you made a mistake, let's figure out what needs to be done to make it right. Assessment should be based off quality work and actual comprehension of a lesson. Today's learning styles are based on an ever-changing infrastructure. The world is changing every single second, and we need to stay up to date. Our classrooms are no longer located in one central room. They're located globally. We can learn from somebody in Japan at the same time we're talking to somebody in Sweden, at the same time we're talking to somebody in Brazil. We could be learning. Look at this classroom. There's people from all over the globe in this classroom. You come from one place, you come from another place. There's people from all over, and we all have different learning styles, and we should all be willing to learn this. And if we were to broadcast this over the internet, then sure enough, anybody can learn from this. Technology is found everywhere these days. It's found on telephones. It's found on watches. It's found on TVs. It's found every single place you can go. You have technology. And the resources that come from that technology, from the internet, are updated real time. They're updated up to date at that minute. And there's diverse opinions. So you could look at one person's opinion and study another person's opinion and use that to base your argument off of. Subjects are not only the basics. Okay, back in our day when we went to school, it was English, math, physical education, all that. But these days now we have new and relevant topics: global awareness, environmental literacy, financial literacy, health, civic literacy. These subjects that are being taught globally in the global classroom are relevant to what's going on in the world today, and that's where we need to focus our studies on and our learning on. 21st century workforce utilizes 4 C's. There are 4 C's out there. First is critical thinking. The second C is communication. The third C is collaboration. And the fourth C is creativity. Those 4 C's are huge in life and are huge in the workforce. At Pepsi, people think, oh, you work at Pepsi, you must just throw soda. No. Pepsi is not just stocking soda. So let's look at the 4 C's and how they relate to Pepsi and what we're trying to do with Pepsi these days. First, let's look at critical thinking. We've got obesity affecting kids today, affecting adults today. We've got diabetes affecting kids and adults. So with this threat, soda is on the downfall. So what's Pepsi going to do? Go out of business? No, we're going to adapt. We're going to overcome. How do we do this? We think critically. What do we need to do? Well, let's look at Gatorade. People can't have sugar. People are diabetic, but they need Gatorade. They need the energy. Let's go with Gatorade Zero. No sugar. Critical thinking. We jump on naked juice. We start bringing naked juice into our mix. We bring that to the table. So now we're focusing on juices, freshly squeezed juices. We got kombucha now from Kavita. Things that'll make us healthier options than just soda. So that comes from critical thinking, people thinking outside the box, jumping in on these new and innovative ideas. Communication is the key. Okay, PepsiCo is looking for free thinkers to help market Pepsi worldwide. Can we communicate to the world? What's going on in Africa is different than what's going on in Asia. But we can, as Pepsi, can we communicate? Can we market Pepsi to these other environments and show them that what we're trying to do is change the world and make better options for them? So communication is key. We're looking for people who can communicate with each other, who can talk to one another. We're also looking for collaboration. Are you part of our team? Can you be part of our team? Because it takes more than one person to make PepsiCo function efficiently and effectively. Every piece of this machine, coming from the CEO down to the newest member of the merchandising team, we all have a function. And those functions coincide with one another. And these pieces work together to keep the machine of Pepsi working properly. Collaboration ensures that we're all working together. It's like the oil in our machine. And it's working towards accomplishing the goal of Pepsi being number one. And then we're looking on creativity. When we ask for marketing ideas, we're not just looking for inside the box. We're looking for outside the box. We want free thinkers. Use our creative juices. Brainstorm. Get together. Learn from each other. And we want to get the customer to look and see and choose Pepsi even when they weren't thinking about choosing Pepsi. We want to create, elaborate, and innovate. That's what Pepsi's all about, making sure that we stay one step ahead of the competition and make Pepsi the best in the world. Times have changed, okay? We must change with it. The world has changed exponentially. There's more and more every single day, where it just keeps rising and rising, and it is not going to stop. We're just going to keep developing and keep enhancing our lives. And if we don't change with the times, if we don't embrace change and think globally and think about how we can keep up with this world, we are going to fall behind. We are going to succumb to people who are willing to embrace this change. And we were going to risk losing everything that we as a glorious nation have worked so hard to accomplish. If we don't show progression, we're going to show regression. So in order to keep up with the change, we need to change with the times. And that includes in our classrooms. It starts in our classrooms. Once it starts in the classrooms and we embrace this change of using 4Cs and thinking creatively, using collaboration in our classrooms, using critical thinking in our classrooms, and allowing our classrooms to learn globally with the technology that today offers, then we are going to move that into our workforce. And we're going to use that to advance ourselves. If we don't, we're risk falling behind. So that's my 2 cents worth. I appreciate everybody listening to me. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask me them. Thank you very much.